TOA Fit Body Forever and Fit Body Bootcamp communities. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Robert Linkul with TrainingTheOlderAdult.com. I want to talk to you today about a new article that just came out from Silver Sneakers, one of my favorite organizations to select content to review. This came out on October 7th of this year, 2024, and was written by Karen Asp, A-S-P, Asp. This is the 6 easy exercises to test your fitness at home. I will tell you that I had to do a little bit of research for these because a couple of them are rather puzzling. I don't really know why they're doing them, and I can't really say that I found any research that supports doing them, where there are very, very similar assessments that have a ton of research behind them. And so we'll get into all that. I don't want to jump the shark, but we'll kind of go step by step here and work our way in. But I love the first little description here of like why we're doing this in the first place. You want to measure your ability to be independent. Are you a fall risk? Is your overall health a concern? Are you strong, or are there weaknesses, etc.? You're going to see a lot of quotes from Gretchen Zellick. Hopefully I'm saying Gretchen's name right. She's a certified fitness professional and a functional aging specialist out of Santa Monica. She suggests utilizing these assessments, which most of which originate from the Fullerton functional fitness test. A couple of them are little spin-offs, if you will, and again, we'll kind of dive into that. And I'm going to show you the full Fullerton assessment and the entire research article that supports that. I do think it is good. It is a good assessment. But I do think there are other ones out there that have been really well researched. And if you're trying to find something that is comparable, why would you not want the variable that has been assessed by hundreds, if not millions of others that you could compare yourself to, rather than creating something that's almost the same but doesn't have nearly as much research behind it? So again, we'll kind of talk about those as we go. Things that you'll need for this. I love these. Supportive athletic shoes, good. Comfortable clothing, we want to be able to move. A sturdy chair without armrests or wheels. This is important because you don't want your chair rolling away from you. Light dumbbells. God forbid we use anything heavy, but light dumbbells, 4 pounds for women, 8 pounds for men. And if you don't have dumbbells, you can use books or water bottles or anything else that they said, quote, a heavy object. Light dumbbells, but you can lift heavy objects. I'm such a dick sometimes. I just can't help it. Stopwatch or a clock, a ruler. You will also need a tape measure for this as well, unless you want to ruler that whole thing out as you go. And then a clutter-free space so you can avoid tripping. They do suggest putting the chair against the wall. I think that's a good idea, especially for the sit-to-stand test. If you use folding chairs, every time you stand up, the chair relaxes. And then when you sit down, it compresses, relaxes, compresses, and it slowly inches away from you. If you're on rubber flooring, carpet, anything like that, because you're sitting down and back into the chair, and eventually that chair won't be there for you as you continue to do reps. So push it against the wall. And they also say it might not be a bad idea to have a partner there to assist you, help with measurements, that kind of thing. All right, so here's our first one. And I'm going to say, one of my favorite assessments, but also I don't know where some of these numbers come from, so we'll get into that. This is a lower body strength test that that assesses how well you can go from a seated position to a standing position. We give you 30 seconds to do so. So here are the 2 assessments that I've seen on this. There's a 5-rep sit-to-stand test, which means you're standing. I say go. You sit down, stand up 5 times. And by the 5th time that you stand up, I stop my stopwatch. And that can be anywhere from 7 to 15 seconds or more, right? But somewhere around in there would be like a decent score. 7 or 8 seconds means you're doing 1 to 1.5, 1 rep to every 1 to 1.5 seconds, which is pretty unbelievable because it takes you about a whole second to deload, completely sit down in the chair and stand back up anyhow, let alone getting any kind of fatigue that kind of comes in. Granted, it's only 5 reps, so the fatigue is not terribly high. But for the 5-rep test, those times can be a little bit faster, a little lower. The other one is 30 seconds, and you get as many reps as you can. Outside of that, other than just like I made up one and I'm going to see how many times it takes them to do 50 reps or 100 reps or 150 reps, which are all ones that we've done, but that's just in-house in our little community. But if I'm looking for answers to see nationwide or worldwide, population-wide, continentally wide, whatever you want to assess, I've got to have an assessment that is repeatable, it's simple, it's reliable. Let's go all the way back to early research in our undergrads, right, of how you do reliable and repeatable research to show assessments and tools like this so you get consistent answers. Outside of the 5 rep and the 30 second, I have not heard of any other sit to stand tests that have any significant amount of research behind them. The reason I'm saying all that is they suggest here that you do the 30-second sit to stand test. See how many times you can fully sit down and fully stand up in 30 seconds, okay? Your feet should be rooted to the ground. Brace your stomach. Keep your core tight. Completely sit down and stand up. An average adult between the ages of 60 and 79 should be able to do 10 to 19 reps, says Zellick, in 30 seconds. I'm going to tell you, if you're doing this test right, there's no way you're getting 19 reps unless you're freaking Superman. Like that's not possible. It just means that you're bouncing off the chair every time you come down, which is not the point of the test. The point of the test is not to score high. The point of the test is to score not in the lower half, which means you're weak. So here's the category performed by the CDC, who, mind you, this assessment, the 30-second sit to stand via the CDC, has been done for more than 30 plus years and has been assessed over 1 million times, if not way more than that, okay? The average 60-year-old man, this is the top score. Well, this is the average score, 14. Top score is 18. So 1 rep underneath that, but that's for a 60-year-old, okay? They're suggesting up to almost 80 years old, you could be doing that. I mean, if you're a superstar, I get it. Maybe I'm nitpicking here a little bit, but for the ladies, it's 12 reps on average. When we go up to the 79 category, it's 11 for the guys and 10 for the ladies. As you get older, the rep counts go down because naturally, sarcopenia is going to take muscle mass away from you. Our goal is to just not lose as much as we age as we can. If I'm able to maintain, 160 pounds of non-fat tissue on my body, that goes to 150, that goes to 140 by the time I die, I'm winning. Where if I don't lift weights at all, half my body will be under muscle mass by the time I die. My point is we're trying to maintain and hang on to muscle mass as long as you can, but nobody's defeating sarcopenia. No one's going to not lose muscle mass their entire lifespan if you live, over 40 years old. So I know I'm spending a lot of time on this one, but what I'm concerned about is someone reading this and going, I can beat 19 or 20, and they're not conditioned, they're not training, and they just go as hard as they can, not doing it right, and then you get hurt. I would just say if you can get more than 10 to 12, we're probably good. If you can get 14 to 15, you're great. Anything over that, I'd say you're probably in very good shape, or we're not doing the test right, would be my gradual assessment, okay? Best way to improve this is just to continue lifting weights and continue being active, and I agree with that. All right, this one. Other than the Fullerton test, I've seen zero research done on this, and it's a very open assessment, so I guess it would just be as long as you're using what you used before, you can see where you were and where you are now. You sit in a chair with your feet, shoulder width apart, you grab your dumbbells or your heavy object, and then for 30 seconds, you do as many arm curls as you can do. And the averages are between 11 and 22 reps for people 60 to 79. And again, I know we're just trying to give them something to target for, but what if I'm using 20-pound dumbbells? What if I'm using 5-pound dumbbells, right? I get it. Again, nitpicking, but I would love to see like the average female between 60 and 65 used 5-pound dumbbells and did these many reps. I know we don't have that information, so it's like why just give something between 11 and 22? Are we just making those numbers up, or is that what you're shooting? Like, you should be able to do a curl every 2 seconds. Is that what we're? I don't know. It just seems kind of odd to me when the numbers just kind of come out of nowhere. And if the weights are heavier or lighter, like they gave us, ladies should do 4 pounds, the guys should do 8s. Are those the weights? If those are the weights, then okay, these numbers, I can do way more than 22 curls, in 8 seconds or in 30 seconds with 8-pound dumbbells. But if I had 30s, that'd be a different ball game, right? What kind of assessment is this? To me, it would just be record your score and your weight, and then in 8 weeks or 12 weeks, retest and see if you can beat your score. I'd rather have that as an example than here's the range to shoot for. Because again, you get people that try to shoot for this stuff and they end up hurting themselves. Ways to improve it, continue to lift. Agreed. Sit and reach. This was my least favorite exercise or assessment that we did in middle school, into high school. I was a football player and a discus thrower. So I didn't have terribly great flexibility. I could reach my toes. I could reach beyond my toes. Believe it or not, prior to puberty, I was about 8 years into Taekwondo and Tang Sudo and could jump and touch both toes. And I was very dynamic and I was very explosive and I was very flexible. And then puberty came in. I shot up a foot and gained 40 pounds. And football and throwing became more my thing than, Tang Sudo and jiu-jitsu and being thrown on the ground, etc. Focus shift, so my abilities shift. So to sit on the floor and to hinge and reach beyond your toes, totally like the variation of this, let's sit in a chair. Let's straighten our legs out in front and see if we can't hinge and touch your toes, go beyond your toes, touch the floor. That would be a lot. But if you can't touch your toes, this is where the ruler comes in. You measure how far from your toes to your fingertips. And as you train and do yoga and Tai Chi and, Pilates, as they put in here, do you know that lifting weights makes you very flexible? It increases your range of motion by quite a lot. I squat drastically better now than I ever did in my lifetime because of my increased goblet squat and my increased belt squat and my forced range of depth due to the load assisting me achieve that depth. So now without load, I can squat really, really well, below parallel. I can squat. I could not squat like if I had to go, to the restroom in the woods when you're camping kind of a thing. I couldn't even squat down to that position, let alone stay there to do my business. And then now I can do that. And these are improved flexibilities into my 40s that I've practiced not doing Tai Chi or yoga or Pilates. I'm not bagging on that. Do that stuff. It's all great stuff. Just not something that I practice on a regular basis. That's okay. But it's not a bad thing to suggest resistance training here too to increase range of motion, especially with something that elongates your hamstrings and works on elongating the erector muscles of your lower back, which is basically what we're assessing here. Now, the goal of this is to sit up tall and hinge and just have your hamstrings be the assessed. But if you round your back over and reach your hands further beyond your toes, yes, you might have a good or passing score, but is that showing hamstring flexibility or is it showing lower lumbar pliability? And lower lumbar pliability isn't necessarily a good thing. Not a bad thing, but it's not necessarily a good thing either. To me, it means that you're maybe more susceptible to injury if you have more pliability in your lumbar spine. Thoracic spine, yes. Cervical spine, absolutely. But your lumbar spine, as far as I am concerned, my personal beliefs is the lumbar spine is not designed, nor should it manipulate or rotate or move a whole lot. It is designed as your center of mass stabilizer to articulate your arms and your legs around. Your center of mass is about 2 inches below your belly button. Well, right behind that is L3, L4, L5, L2, L1. They're all right there in the center of your mass. So if I want to articulate and manipulate my legs and my arms and the rest of my body around that, I feel like the more stable I've become in my lumbar, the better mechanics I've had, the better I've moved. And that same application goes to my clients that I work with. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not trying to increase flexibility in our hamstrings and in our shoulder, everything else, all good. But specifically in the lumbar spine, which if you're rounding your back over to reach out, you're probably going to expose that. So just a word to the wise. Be careful with that rounding of the spine position. And if you want to assess just hamstring, just keep your back flat and hinge forward like a flat ironing board, right? And go as far as you can, wherever your hands stop, measure that. Now, if you increase that 2 inches, an inch and a half, something like that, over 8 or 12 weeks, that's awesome. That's fantastic. Any kind of increase there is going to be a good benefit. The back scratch test, this one I personally have never done well with this one, even though my overhead pressing range of motion is really good. Getting my arms to vertical and pressing overhead, I can do well. But getting my arms behind my head, and let alone getting another arm behind to try to touch, I can do ish there. I can't even get the other way. I just have too many shoulder injuries. I have Buford complex tears in both of my shoulders now, and I was not aware that I was born with that. I injured my right one about 7 years ago, and then just discovered my left one to have the same. And so my ability to manipulate my shoulders is rather difficult. The average individual out there will have better elbow and shoulder flexibility if practiced on a regular basis. So this is a test that if you try to throw your arms into that position, I'm going to throw my arms back there, try to grab, again, anything done spastically, dynamically like that, probably going to result more in damage than good. So be gentle when you're doing this. And then the measurement in between the hands, if you're within, let's see, it shows 9 inches of either hand, then you're okay. But if you can actually touch them together, that's super flexible. That's really, really pliable, especially for the 60 to 79-year-olds. That's pretty solid, okay? So this assess of the shoulder flexibility and range of motion helps you a lot in your posture and your balance, but also in your ability to press and reach and range your arms over your head, which reduces frozen shoulders or any type of shoulder impingements, etc. as you get older. This is a practiced skill that you need to continue to practice on a regular basis to maintain the ability to do so. Any unpracticed skill will be lost. That's why if you look at someone like Keeg, what's the gymnast that just won the Olympics again? What's her name? Simone Biles, thank you. There was another one named Gabby something, right, before her? Yeah. Okay. All right, Simone. Simone's 30 years old, right? Late 20s, early 30s. Still squats amazingly well. Can do the splits, can do all that. Since birth, since that girl was old enough to start walking, maybe even before that, she was working on her flexibility and pliability. She went through puberty. She went all the way through that into older adult life now. Older adult we'll consider over, in this case, no longer a teenager is my point. What's that? 27 years old. Thank you. So 27 years old. Still can do all the same flexibility stuff because she continued to practice it. And that's my point is, if as a child, you had the perfect squat, you could squat all the way down, touch your butt to your ankles, and hug your knees, and your butt cheeks were against your Achilles, and your back was flat as a board. You see babies sit in that position all the time. If you continued to practice that skill all the way through your life, daily, practicing that, you would always have that flexibility. Granted, you would have certain limbs, your femur might grow a little longer than it might shift a little bit. But as far as the pliability to do that, you'd still have it. It's when you stop practicing it. I stopped doing martial arts every day to go play football and to throw things. We just didn't practice mobility like that. But go watch 30, 40, 50-year-old men doing jiu-jitsu, doing grappling, doing wrestling. They're super pliable. They're really, really flexible. Why are they different? Why is that 43-year-old man different than this 43-year-old man? Because he's continued to practice all that flexibility and mobility throughout his lifetime where I have not. I have focused more on adding more muscle mass where he has continued to focus on more mobility. And there's arguments that both are good or bad or what, that's a different discussion. My point is the practice skill will be maintained. Once a skill is lost, it's harder to gain it back, especially as we get older. So it doesn't mean that we can't get that kind of flexibility again in our hamstrings and our shoulders. It's just going to be a hell of a lot harder to do so, okay? This is the one that had me completely puzzled. Why 8 feet? Where did 8 feet come from? Every time I've seen this assessment done, it's been 3 meters, 9.9 feet, 10 feet if you want to round it up American. Where did 8 feet come from? Why did we cut 2 feet off of this? I don't understand. And if somebody knows the answer to it, please tell me. Forever since we've been doing any kind of assessment, since the very beginning, our timed up and go tug test has been 3 meters out and back, less than 12 and a half seconds. And now we have 3.8 to 7.4 seconds as our guideline. I don't understand, why do we invent another assessment that's the exact same thing but 2 feet shorter? I don't get it. I may be getting all riled up over nothing. So if somebody knows the answer to why, don't just tell me because it's in the Fullerton. I know it's in the Fullerton test, right? Why did they choose? Why did you not just say, let's keep the 10 foot in there. Let's keep the 3 meters. Why did you change it? I would really like to know an answer, because it's things like this that make me go, what the hell? We already had an assessment. We already had one designed that everybody, including the CDC, has been issuing worldwide for people to use as an assessment tool. And if you can't get up and walk out 10 feet and get back in under 12 and a half seconds, you're a fall risk. And if you can do it in 8 seconds or less, you're amazing. Not a fall risk. Why do we reinvent the wheel? I don't understand it. And if you could say like, well, it's better, it's faster. Well, no shit, it's 2 feet shorter. So of course it's going to be faster. But why? Why did you make it 2 feet shorter? I don't understand. It's assessing the same thing: coordination, fall reduction, reaction time, balance and agility. 2 more feet reduces that? I don't know. So anyhow, if you know an answer, enlighten me, please. The Fullerton test does not explain why they do the 8 foot, but they do. And now the last one, this is in place of a 6-minute walk, where for 6 minutes you just walk as far as you can on a treadmill or on a track or whatnot, and then you mark down what your max distance is that you can get to. So to be able to do this in home, you don't have a treadmill, can't assume everybody has that. They switched it to a 2 minute, is that right? Yeah, 2 minutes of raising your knees to parallel-ish mid-thigh and counting how many times you can march in place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. for 2 minutes. A couple of things here. Let me start by this. I understand the Earth is moving and it's spinning in circles and we're hurling through the universe at 1,000,000 miles an hour or whatever it is, okay? But for the sake of this argument, the ground is not moving when we walk on it. We are propelling ourselves forward on the Earth. When you march in place, there's no forward propulsion. So to look at this and say, I'm getting some type of cardiovascular test and lower body balance and coordination, to march in place and to actually propel yourself and move forward, 2 very different assessments. So I don't think you could look at somebody that marches in place and say they have good balance. If they get over, 68 to 115 marches per side, oh wow, I didn't see that, per side. So this is 136 to 230 reps, wow, in 120 seconds. That seems very fast. That seems like a lot for a 60 to 79-year-old. That seems like a lot. That aerobic test is going to be very high. But am I going to look at this and say they're better balanced and less of a fall risk? Absolutely not. Someone's gait and their posture through their gait is extremely valuable to assess. And I get it. Like you're saying if we're only going to do a test in-house, how would you assess this? I guess this is okay, right? This would do fine. But are we actually testing for what we want? I'd rather them turn on their smartwatch or their tracker on their phone and go outside and go for a real walk for 6 minutes. I think that would give a much better return. Because now you have a distance, and then if you count how many steps you took, you can now average your gait. Does that make sense? In 6 minutes, if you walk a quarter of a mile, and I'm making up numbers, I don't know if this is accurate, I've never done this, So you go a quarter of a mile in 6 minutes, and that takes 400 steps, 300 steps, let's say. Your average step is 2 feet, okay, that you covered in that. So if I covered a quarter of a mile, which is 400 meters, you understand. I won't go into all the math. You'll understand. You can get an average based on how far you went and how many strides you took. And let's say that average is 2.5. For every step I took, I covered 2.5 feet or 2.5 feet. Then you reassess that and you cover 3/4 of a mile in the same time. Obviously, I took longer strides. So that means my balance and my coordination and my fall prevention is increased because I've widened my base of gait length, which coordinates with every other research article out there. The smaller your gait, the more likely you are to fall. The longer your gait, the less likely you are to fall. So in 6 minutes, if you go from a quarter of a mile to a half a mile, then that's a huge improvement. If you go from a half a mile to 3/4 of a mile, that's a huge improvement. These are great gains that actually tell us something. We have a number that we can look at, but to just march in place, and are you getting high enough on every one? Like it's a assessment, but I think there's a better option for you as long as you can go outside and you have a smartphone, which I think everyone has, you know. I have yet to meet anybody that does not, young or old, have one of these, okay, whichever Apple or Samsung or whatever you're at. All right. Assessing this, wrapping it all up. Basically, if you didn't score well on some things, don't get discouraged. Make a plan to help yourself improve and perform this. And, in a couple, 4, 8, 12, 16 weeks, whatever you want to do, come back and reassess. Talk to your doctor about tailoring an exercise plan to your needs, your activity level, and your physical health. And if your plan includes silver sneakers, take a benefit of it. Okay. So I would probably suggest to people before they even do the assessment to talk to their doctor if they're concerned. But if you're not concerned about taking the assessment, I wouldn't have, unless you failed it miserably, I wouldn't have a huge concern with starting a fitness program after that. Walking on a regular basis, daily would be great, 20 to 30 minutes. Resistance training 1 to 3 days a week. Start with 1, build up to 3. With at least 48 hours in between training sessions would be amazing, even if it's 20 minutes a day. So that's an hour of the week. 20 minutes Monday, 20 Wednesday, 20 Friday. That's an hour of your life spent lifting weights. The benefits that can be made in those 3 20-minute sessions are astronomical for the aging body. So much good can come from that. And if you don't believe me, watch any of the 150 other videos that I've made about it on this channel, because I show you all of them constantly. I would say every other video I'm talking about research, something that shows if you just do this a little bit, look at the great results. Imagine if you did a full one, okay? So you've got 168 hours in a week. The other 167, do whatever you want. But for 1 hour a week, 3 20-minute blocks, lift some weights. Eat like a grown-up, sleep like a grown-up, hydrate like a grown-up. And what I mean by that is responsibly. If you eat like a kid and you party like a teenager, you're not going to have great results. You're not going to get enough sleep. You're not going to recover. You're going to feel lackluster energy. Cognitive stimulus is going to be slow because you're eating junk food, drinking. Like, hydrate well, get some good sleep, eat healthy foods, take care of your body. It's the only one you get. If we do all those things, that's a great fitness plan right out of the get-go. You don't need to talk to your doctor to do that stuff. Unless you have a major physical limitation, disease and or injury, then I would go talk to your doctor. Or if you fail that assessment terribly across the board, I'm 0 on all of them, then go talk to your doctor. But otherwise, I think going out and walking, if you're capable of walking, go walk. If you're capable of making better decisions on eating and sleeping and hydrating, do that now. And if you can start to implement some kind of resistance training into your life, do it. It's only going to be beneficial. And if you don't know what to do and you're nervous about it, hire a professional, let them help you a little bit, and then you can continue on. Some clients that we get, they need the education, they need the accountability, they need someone to assist them in learning what to do. Some don't need the accountability. They just need to know what to do. And others know what to do. They need the accountability. So it's kind of a triple edge, sword there. Is that a double-edged sword? A triple-edged Triton? There we go. A Triton? A triple, you get it. There's 3 points of importance here when it comes to working with clients. Sometimes they need information. Sometimes they need someone to hold them accountable, and sometimes they need both. In some programs, just learn the basics. And if you don't need somebody there with you every day to make sure you're going to show up and going to work hard, you can just buy programs. And then other ways, if you already know how to lift well, but you're just like, I'm just not motivated to show up, then join a group or get a trainer. And that person will assist you in showing up every day. That's how fitness works. And there are very few people out there that know what to do, that are motivated constantly and continue to show up and give a great effort every single time they do it. And even if they do that, they're still having workout partners or teammates, etc. There are very few people that can just live on an island and they're in great shape and they're always motivated. All right, to wrap this up, if you want to look further into this, this is the full evaluation of functional abilities using the modified Fullerton Functional Fitness Test. Is a very valuable assessment for men with heart failure, etc. They go even deeper into a little bit of everybody, diabetes, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, etc. As they go into that, males and females across the board. Here is a little zoom up. Oh, wait, where is it? There we go. A zoom in on the actual assessments. The 8 foot up and go, again, I don't know why 8. 2.224 meters, or let's just do 3 meters, 9.5 feet, 9.9 feet. I don't get it. 30 seconds, sit to stand, good. The curl. Okay, so here they have patients flex their forearms with 3.5 kilograms of weight in 30 seconds. So that's almost 8 pounds is 3.5 kilos, right? Yeah. So, excuse me. No, it's 7 pounds. Okay, 7 pounds. 8 pounds, somewhere right around in there that you're going to curl with. So that was pretty close, what she had before, 4 for the ladies, 8 for the guys, okay? The back scratch, crossing the arms back there, good. The sit and reach, got it. There's your 6-minute walk test, okay, and then abbreviated 6 MWT. And then you're going for distance there, 6 minutes. And then modifications they had in there, they put in a grip strength test, which I absolutely love. I think that's great, okay? All right, any questions about this? Here's also the conclusion on there if you want to see any of the authors, etc. I always want to show you where I'm getting all my information from. All right, gang. Overall, I guess I would give this article, as well as it's written, a 10 out of 10. I think it was written really well. Content, I would just give it like an 8 out of 10. A little questionable as far as why some of the assessments are done the way they're done, but as far as interpreting that last article I showed you and writing into this, she nailed it. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good article. And are these assessments that I think, people should do and can do at home, as long as you're not doing anything too spastically and you're not going to hurt yourself? Yeah, absolutely. Get an idea of where you're at. I think that's fine. And then if you feel like you need help and you did not score as well as you want to, and you've got some idea of where your weaknesses are and such, yeah, building a good program to help you build some of that up, I think would be beneficial. I would tell you that out of everything that we just talked about, I hate to be the guy that just always funnels it back to this, but everything across the board that we just assessed can be improved utilizing strength and conditioning, strength training, and whatever else is specific to that action. So if you want to get better at flexibility, start resistance training and practice flexibility, mobility, agility work. If you want to get better at balance, resistance train and practice your contralateral, ipsilateral, up and down from the floor, split stance, one eye closed, 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional, all that stuff. If you want to get better at overhead range of motion, resistance train and continually practice getting your arms up over your head, reach behind your head. Bottom line is, resistance training will only help you get better at anything and everything that you want to do. It does not make you bulky. People that pursue bulk and style of training for bulk will get bulkier. But resistance training will simply allow your joints to stay strong, your ligaments to stay strong, your bones to stay dense, and for you to be able to function at a high level, which is what we want for every aging body as you get older. We want you to stay independent. We want you to stay away from what's called the disability threshold, which is the time in your life that you reach where you are now dependent on something else, a cane, a walker, a wheelchair, or someone else to help take care of you. We want all of you to stay away from the disability threshold and to die at 105 years old in your sleep or whenever it happens, quickly and painless, and in a way that you maintained your independence and your ability to live the life you wanted to, the way you want to live it. That's the ultimate goal. It's not to have you alive at 90, but you can't get out of bed, or you're stuck in a chair and you live for 10 more years because medicine's keeping you alive, but you can't do anything other than sit there. I guess that's a discussion and an answered question by each of us. Do we consider that living? Because I do not. I want to be on my 2 feet. I want to be able to take care of myself, and I want to be able to go out into the world and do the things that I want to do. And if I can't do those things, then I don't know if I would consider that a high quality of life and living anymore. So if we can just keep everybody strong enough to do the basics of life, squat, hinge, push, pull, press, row, split stance, up and down off the floor, up and down from stairs, stand up tall, have a good strong gait, carry weights back and forth, groceries, etc. We can do that until you're 105. You're in good shape, man. You're going to be able to go and do anything and everything that you want to do. Maybe you're not playing in the NFL anymore. That's okay. But you're still going on trips, and you're still visiting the grandkids and the great-grandkids, and 105, hell, the great-great-grandkids at this point. But you're still under your own strength, your own power, no one else. You're not dependent on someone else or something else to help take care of you. That is our goal. I think that's a good goal. Any comments, questions, hit me up in the comment section down below. If not, continue to fight your good fight against sarcopenia, and we will see you in the next video. Thank you very much. Take care.